Good morning. It is a joy to be among you. It is my honor to serve Unitarian Universalism alongside you as your minister. So I'm going to start off this morning with a story. Have you ever had a cat? I am allergic to cats, but I always have been and remain a cat-loving human, so I can't resist. I always have at least one. Go figure. Long ago, I had a sweet little calico cat named Phoebe, who would come up to me while I was working at my desk and get up on her hind legs and tap me repeatedly on the arm. Tap, tap, tap. I'd be sitting there working, lost in thought, and suddenly, tap, 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 and those big, beautiful sea green eyes would look at me and catch mine, and I'd realize, oh, she's hungry. She never meowed. She just tapped me on the arm and pleaded silently for her needs to be met. However, my current one-eared tuxedo cat named Miracle is just the opposite. She will wait outside my bedroom door, and when she hears movement inside, she'll get excited. And when you open the door, she'll start taking off for the kitchen. Even if you're just going to do something else, she's headed for the kitchen. And if you aren't moving fast enough towards the cabinet where her food is stored, she'll start meowing loudly. She will express her unequivocal feelings about the tardiness of her food delivery. She's a full-figured girl, shall we say, but she is clearly on the verge of starvation. Unlike my cat, who are the human beings who are actually food insecure? The website for Feed South Florida says those going without meals are often single parents, the working poor, veterans, senior citizens, and children. An estimated 14 million children do not have sufficient access to safe, nutritious food on a regular basis. That is where free lunch programs can help. It turns out kids learn much more easily when their basic needs are met. Do you know how it came to be that public schools serve breakfast, for example, to impoverished children? According to History.com, the USDA had piloted free breakfast programs in the 1960s in a few areas, but they didn't actually become policy until the Black Panthers decided we need to feed these hungry kids. And so they started a program with at least 45 different sites and fed thousands of children in 1969. And J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the FBI, didn't like this very much because it was giving them good publicity. Can't have good publicity for the Black Panther Party. So he took it upon himself to eradicate that. And so then the government took over, and free lunch programs became standard, and free breakfast too, across the nation. And it has had wonderful effects over these past several decades. Access to decent meal before school has revolutionized education and during school, because kids need food to be able to focus so they can learn. That makes sense, right? It's a fundamental fact that when people's basic needs are unmet or denied, it causes enormous suffering. I read yesterday on NBCnews.com that immigration advocates say that those detained by ICE in our country are facing hunger, food shortages, and becoming ill from spoiled food. And this isn't the first time this has happened. This is a repeating event in the history of our nation. When our government put Japanese Americans into internment camps during World War II, there were very often food shortages and limited access to fresh ingredients. Of this time, George Takei, the famous actor best known as Mr. Stulu from Star Trek, had said, "We were Americans in American prison camps." He tells us that they took him from his home in Los Angeles at gunpoint when he was 5 years old. And they put the family into a horse stall at a racing track behind barbed wire fencing. He says, what they served us to eat was wretched grub. Those are his words, wretched grub. And right now, in 2025, we're doing the same thing in the detention camps. And in Gaza, right now, hunger is being used as a deliberate tactic of war. This is something that's happening in our world. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in justice and equity for everyone. Food justice is a fundamental part of that justice and equity. Every single human being deserves to eat things that will nourish and sustain their bodies. And this is inextricably intertwined with climate change, for what we do to our earth has severe repercussions to our own access to safe and healthy food, and that's every single one of us. We are all part of the interdependent web of life, and you can clearly see our theology at work in action in this way. What harms one group of people or one animal or one type of environmental aspect harms us all, and it doesn't take long either. Bringing it a little closer to home, many among our community might never have to worry about their food and their access to food. And some of us in this community may be food insecure and very quiet about it, feeling shame or embarrassment. And I have to tell you, there should never be shame around not having access to food. If you are in lack, beloveds, it's okay to ask for help. It really is. There's nothing to feel bad about. Have you ever heard of food deserts? No, not desserts, one of my favorite parts, but deserts. According to the website for the Food Empowerment Project, food deserts are geographic areas where residents' access to affordable, healthy food, especially fresh fruits and vegetables, is restricted or non-existent due to the absence of grocery stores within convenient traveling distance. Many places in the inner city do not have an actual grocery store or a farmer's market, and getting to where one is might prove impossible if you don't have safe, reliable transportation. And so what does that leave for people who can't get to safe, nutritious food? Convenience stores, which are not known for their healthy food options, to say the least. How did all this come about? Why do some have everything they could possibly need and some have very little or have challenges getting what they need? I could spend a lot of time talking about racialized capitalism, and I probably will in some future sermon. How our system is set up to benefit the few at the expense of the many. But suffice it to say, we do not have a hard time finding justice issues as a congregation. Rather, we must decide what urgent issue do we want to address next. Race and racism are foundational to how this operates in our society and how we are othering and dehumanizing people. And that's why I'm breaking my own rule. I'm going to say, I hope you join me next Sunday as we begin our film series on racial justice.